Daniel Carter stood in the massive council chamber and felt small. Around him, aliens from 200 different worlds filled the seats. Some looked like giant insects. Others resembled walking trees or floating crystals. A few looked almost human but with strange colors or extra limbs. All of them were staring at him. The leader of the council was called High Chancellor Vorin. He had 3 eyes and blue skin that seemed to glow slightly in the chamber's light. He looked down at Daniel from his raised platform and spoke in a voice that echoed through the room. "Your request to join the Galactic Council is denied," Vorin said. The words were clear and final. "Earth does not have the technology we require. Your people are too young, too primitive, and too violent. You are not ready to be part of our civilization." Laughter filled the chamber. The insect-like aliens clicked their mandibles in amusement. The reptilian ones hissed what Daniel assumed was their version of laughing. Some of the other species made sounds he could not identify, but the meaning was clear. They all thought humans were a joke. Lisa Hayes stood next to Daniel. She was a commander in Earth's Space Force, though the Council did not know that. To them, she was just another member of the human delegation. Her hands formed fists at her sides, but her face stayed calm. Years of military training helped her control her anger. Another alien stood up. His name was Kelrix, and he came from a warrior species called the Kreth. He had 4 arms and looked like he could tear a human apart without much effort. His voice was loud and mocking. "Look at them," Kelrix said, pointing all 4 arms at the human delegation. "They still fight wars on their own planet. They poison their air and water. They barely control 1 star system. Their ships are like toys compared to ours. Why should we let such primitives join the council?" Daniel wanted to respond, but Vorin raised one hand for silence. "We have reviewed your technology," Vorin continued. "Your fastest ships use antimatter engines. We stopped using those 10,000 years ago. Your weapons are basic energy blasters. Your computers are simple. You have nothing to offer us, nothing we need or want." Another species added their opinion. They called themselves the Sorin Collective, and they were a hive mind that controlled 50 star systems. Their spokesperson was a thin, gray alien with large black eyes. "Analysis complete," the Sorin said, in a flat, emotionless voice. "Humans fall below minimum requirements. Technology level, insufficient. Political unity, questionable. Military capability, minimal. Recommendation: deny membership. Suggest revisiting application in 500 standard cycles. 500 cycles meant 500 years by Earth's calendar. The Council was telling humanity to come back in 5 centuries. By then, everyone in this room would be long dead. "We understand," Daniel said, keeping his voice steady. "But we believe humanity has potential. We ask the Council to reconsider. We can contribute to galactic society." Vorin made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Contribute? What could you possibly contribute? We have mastered quantum physics while you still struggle with basic relativity. We harvest the energy of stars while you barely tap solar power. We have cured diseases that would wipe out your entire species. You have nothing we need." The council members nodded in agreement. Some whispered to each other, probably discussing how foolish humans were to even apply for membership. "The decision is final," Vorin declared. "Earth will receive provisional status. You may trade with supervised worlds under strict guidelines. You will have no vote in council matters. You will have no voice in galactic policy, and you will have no protection under council law. If another species attacks you, the council will not intervene. You are on your own." Daniel bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he did not feel. "Thank you for your time, Chancellor." As the human delegation left the chamber, aliens moved out of their way. Some looked at them with pity, others with contempt. A few seemed curious, like scientists observing primitive creatures, but none looked at them with respect. The walk through the station was long. The council met on a massive orbital platform that circled a beautiful blue star. The station was a work of art. Gravity worked differently in different sections. Buildings floated in midair. Holographic displays showed information in 3 dimensions, without any visible projectors. Transportation tubes moved people from place to place faster than any Earth vehicle. Everything about the station reminded humans how far behind they were. Or at least, how far behind the Council thought they were. Lisa waited until they were in their shuttle before speaking. The shuttle was small and cramped compared to alien vessels they had seen. Its design was simple. Its technology basic. Exactly what the Council expected from primitive humans. 500 years, Lisa said through clenched teeth. They want us to wait 500 years. Daniel sat in the pilot's seat and activated the privacy screens. These were one of the few pieces of real human technology on the shuttle. Though they looked like standard equipment, once the screens were up, no one outside could hear or see what happened inside. "Brandon," Daniel said to the young man sitting in the back. "Send the message." Brandon Cole looked like a junior officer, barely out of training. That was exactly what his record said. But his fingers moved over the communication console with expert precision, inputting codes that would mean nothing to anyone watching. "Message sent, sir," Brandon reported. "Earth Command confirms receipt. Operation Prometheus is now active." Lisa turned to look at Daniel. "Do you think it worked? Do you think they really believe we're that primitive?" Daniel smiled for the first time since entering the council chamber. "They believe what they want to believe. They've been on top for so long that they can't imagine anyone challenging them. They saw our old ships and assumed that's all we have. They saw our basic weapons and assumed we don't know how to build better ones. They heard about our conflicts and assumed we're too divided to be a real threat." "But we're not," Brandon said. "No," Daniel agreed. "We're not. For 12 years, since we first made contact with alien life, we've been playing a part. We showed them exactly what they expected to see. Primitive humans, struggling with basic technology, barely unified, hardly worth noticing. While we built the real fleet in secret," Lisa added. "Exactly. Hidden shipyards behind holographic shields. Research stations inside hollowed asteroids. Training facilities on the far side of the moon. We've been preparing for this moment since day one." Brandon looked out the shuttle window at the council station growing smaller behind them. "They have no idea what's coming. And that's exactly how we want it," Daniel said. "The council's biggest weakness is their arrogance. They stopped innovating centuries ago because they thought they had reached the peak of technology. They stopped watching for threats because they thought nothing could threaten them. They dismissed us because we're young. They're going to regret that," Lisa said. "Yes," Daniel agreed. "They are. In 2 days, we start Phase 2. The Council thinks they humiliated us today. They think they put us in our place. They think humans will crawl back to Earth and accept their judgment." He activated the shuttle's engines. They were real antimatter engines, not the advanced drives that Earth had actually developed. Everything about this shuttle was designed to reinforce the Council's belief that humans were primitive. "They're wrong," Daniel continued. "Today wasn't a defeat. It was the final piece of intelligence we needed. We learned everything we needed to know about the Council. Their political structure, their military capabilities, their technological limits, and most importantly, their blind spots." The shuttle accelerated away from the station, heading for the jump point that would take them back to Earth. Behind them, the Council continued their meetings, making decisions that affected trillions of beings across the galaxy. They felt safe in their power, confident in their superiority, certain that nothing could challenge their control. They had no idea that everything was about to change. Daniel thought about the ships waiting in hidden docks throughout the solar system. The Phoenix-class warships, with engines that could outrun anything the Council had. The weapons that used quantum entanglement to hit targets light years away. The armor that could adapt to any attack. The technology that would make the Council's best equipment look like antiques. All of it built in secret. All of it waiting for the right moment. That moment was now. "How long until we reach Earth?" Lisa asked. 36 hours at our current speed," Daniel replied. 2 days after the Council rejected Earth's application, President Karen Mitchell sat deep underground. The command center was built inside a mountain in Colorado, hidden from any satellite or sensor that might be watching from space. Around her sat the most important people on Earth: military leaders, scientists, intelligence officers, and political advisors all waited for her to speak. "The Council thinks we're primitives," General Victor Hayes said. He was the head of Earth's Unified Defense Force, a position that did not officially exist. As far as the Council knew, Earth's nations still had separate militaries that barely cooperated. That was another lie. "Let me show you what they don't know." Victor activated a holographic display in the center of the room. Images appeared, showing sleek warships that looked nothing like the crude vessels Earth had shown the Council. These ships were beautiful and deadly, with smooth lines and technology that glowed with blue light. "The Phoenix-class warships," Victor said with pride in his voice. "We have 300 of them, fully crewed and ready for deployment. Each one is faster, stronger, and more advanced than anything the Council has ever built." Dr. Amy Richardson stood up next. She was young, only 35 years old, but she was the head of Earth's weapons research program. Her team had created technologies that would have seemed like magic to people just 50 years ago. "While we showed the Council our antimatter engines, we were actually using zero-point energy for years," Amy explained. She spoke quickly, excited about her work. Zero-point energy is pulled directly from the fabric of space itself. It gives us almost unlimited power. Our ships can travel faster than anything the Council uses. They can fire weapons continuously without running out of energy. They can maintain shields that would drain a Council ship's power in minutes. She changed the display to show a weapon system. It looked simple, just a smooth cylinder, but the readings next to it showed incredible power. "This is our quantum entanglement targeting system. When we fire at a target, the weapon is already connected to it through quantum mechanics. Distance doesn't matter. The weapon hits instantly, no matter how far away the target is. The Council's ships have to deal with light speed lag. Their weapons take time to reach the target. Ours don't." Commander Jake Morrison spoke next. He was quiet and serious, with scars on his face from battles no one outside this room knew about. He commanded the Shadow Fleet, Earth's secret military force that had been operating in Council space for years. "We've been running covert missions throughout the galaxy for 8 years, Jake said. "Small teams, hidden ships, intelligence gathering. We know the location of every major Council military base. We know their patrol routes, their response times, their standard tactics. We've mapped their entire defensive network, without them noticing." He brought up a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Council military installations. There were thousands of them, spread across hundreds of star systems, but there were also blue lines showing weaknesses, gaps in coverage, and strategic vulnerabilities. The Council's military is designed to maintain order, not to fight a real war. They spread their forces thin, keeping a few ships in every system to respond to pirates or local conflicts. They haven't faced a serious military threat in over 1,000 years. They're not ready for one. President Mitchell listened carefully to each report. She had been part of the secret plan from the beginning. Back when she was just a senator, the decision to hide Earth's true capabilities had been controversial. Many people argued it was dishonest, that humans should be proud of what they accomplished. But the people in this room had understood the strategic value of deception. "Dr. Henry Park," Mitchell said, gesturing to the strategic planning chief. "Tell us about the political situation." Henry was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. He had studied every alien civilization in the Council, learning their histories, their cultures, and their grievances. "The Council is not as unified as they pretend," Henry explained. "The Veron Empire and the Kreth Dominion control most decisions, but dozens of other species resent their power. Younger species are treated as second-class members. Smaller civilizations have no real voice. There are conflicts, old grudges, and political factions that barely tolerate each other." He pulled up profiles of different alien species. Some looked angry in their official photos. Others seemed frustrated or defeated. "We've identified 47 species that are dissatisfied with Council leadership. They're looking for an alternative, but have no way to challenge the existing power structure. If we offer them a new option, many will join us. Brandon Cole, who had been revealed as a colonel in Earth's intelligence service, added more information. We've also found 3 major weaknesses in the Council's structure. First, their military is spread too thin. They can't concentrate forces quickly because everything is designed for peacekeeping, not warfare. Second, they haven't innovated in centuries. They keep using the same technology, the same tactics, the same strategies they've used for thousands of years. Third, their political system is rigid. It takes months for them to make major decisions because every species has to agree. Which means, Mitchell said, understanding the implications, that if we move fast, they won't be able to respond effectively. Exactly, Madam President. Mitchell stood and walked around the holographic display, studying the ships, the weapons, and the strategic maps. The weight of what they were about to do pressed down on her. They were going to challenge the established order of the entire galaxy. If they failed, Earth would be isolated, possibly attacked, certainly punished. But if they succeeded, humanity would take its rightful place among the stars. How long until we're ready? She asked. General Victor smiled. It was not a kind smile. We've been ready for 2 years, Madam President. We were just waiting for the right moment. The Council's rejection gives us the perfect justification. We're not attacking them. We're simply showing them they were wrong about us. Then I'm authorizing Operation Prometheus, Mitchell said firmly. Show the galaxy what humanity can really do when we stop pretending to be weak. Across the solar system, hidden facilities activated. On the far side of Earth's moon, massive doors opened in craters that looked natural from orbit. Inside those craters were shipyards that had been building warships for a decade. The Phoenix-class vessels powered up their engines for the first time in open space. In the asteroid belt, rocks that seemed like any others split open to reveal hidden docks. Smaller ships emerged, fighters and scouts and support vessels, all equipped with technology the Council had never imagined. On Mars, in underground bases kilometers below the surface, soldiers and pilots prepared for deployment. These were not ordinary military personnel. They had been training in secret since childhood, learning to operate advanced technology, studying alien tactics, and preparing for the day when Earth would reveal its true power. Dr. Amy Richardson watched from the command center as her weapon systems came online. She thought about all the years of work, all the breakthroughs and failures, all the times they had almost been discovered by Council observers. We couldn't have done this without their arrogance, she said to no one in particular. Every time they mocked our primitive technology, they let us into their facilities. Every time they dismissed our questions as foolish curiosity, they gave us access to their databases. Every time they bragged about their superiority, they showed us exactly what we needed to beat them. Jake Morrison prepared his shadow fleet for deployment. 300 warships might not sound like many compared to the Council's thousands. But numbers were not everything. Each human ship was worth 10 Council vessels, and they had another advantage the Council did not know about. Are the modular systems tested? Jake asked his chief engineer. Fully tested and operational, Commander. Each ship can split into 10 independent vessels or combine with others to form larger craft. The Council has never seen anything like it. Good. Because we're about to show them that everything they think they know about warfare is wrong. President Mitchell authorized the next phase of the operation. Ambassador Nicole Grant, who had been working behind the scenes for years, began contacting the dissatisfied species that Henry Park had identified. Her message was simple and appealing. Earth is forming the Alliance of Free Worlds. We invite any species to join us, regardless of their technology level or age. The only requirements are respect for sovereignty, commitment to mutual defense, and fair trade. We're offering an alternative to the Council's hierarchy. We're offering equality. The responses came faster than expected. Within hours, 12 species expressed interest. By the end of the day, 23 had sent official inquiries. These were not just small, powerless civilizations. Some controlled multiple star systems. Some had significant military forces. Some had been part of the Council for centuries but had grown tired of being ignored. The galaxy was ready for change. It just needed someone to start the revolution. Daniel Carter prepared to return to Council space. This time, he would not be arriving in a primitive shuttle, pretending to be a weak diplomat from a backward planet. This time, he would arrive in the ECS Liberty, the flagship of Earth's fleet, a vessel that represented everything humanity had achieved. The Council is going to be shocked, Lisa Hayes said as they reviewed the mission plan. Shock is exactly what we want, Daniel replied. We need to hit them so hard, so fast, that they don't have time to organize a response. We need to demonstrate overwhelming superiority in a way they can't ignore or dismiss. And if they attack us, then we show them why that would be a mistake. But I don't think they will. The Council's leaders are not stupid. Once they see what we're capable of, they'll realize that fighting us would be costly. They'll negotiate. And if they don't, Daniel's expression hardened. Then we fight, and we win. Humanity didn't come this far to be pushed back into the shadows. The Council had their chance to welcome us. They chose mockery instead. Now they'll deal with the consequences. The final preparations took another day. Every system was checked, and the first sign that something was wrong came when the Soren Collective lost contact with their main surveillance station. High Chancellor Voren was in a meeting when the report arrived. He barely paid attention at first. Technical problems happened sometimes, even with advanced technology. Then 3 more stations went dark at exactly the same moment. That got his attention. What's happening? Voren demanded, his 3 eyes focused on the military coordinator. The coordinator was a massive Kreth warrior named Vexor, covered in battle scars from decades of service. Unknown, Chancellor, Vexor replied, his forearms working multiple control panels at once. The stations are not destroyed. They simply stopped transmitting. No distress calls, no signs of attack, no energy signatures. It's like someone reached out and turned them off. That's impossible. Those stations have backups for their backups. Multiple power sources. Independent communication systems. I know, Chancellor, but they're all offline. And our scouts in those sectors report nothing unusual. No ships, no weapons fire, nothing. What the Council could not detect were the millions of tiny machines that humanity had released into space over the past 3 years. Each machine was smaller than a grain of sand, coated in materials that made them invisible to sensors. They had drifted through Council space on solar winds and gravity currents, slowly infiltrating every major facility. Now, at a signal from Earth, those tiny machines activated. They attached to communication arrays, power systems, and sensor networks. They did not destroy anything. They just made everything stop working at the right moment. The Council was being blinded, and they did not even know how. On board the ECS Liberty, Daniel Carter sat in the captain's chair and watched the reports come in. The ship was enormous, 3 kilometers long, with weapons and shields that made it more powerful than entire Council fleets. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. All systems ready, Ambassador, Lisa Hayes reported from the tactical station. The Shadow Fleet is in position. Our allies are waiting for the signal. Then let's not keep them waiting, Daniel said. Open a channel to the Galactic Council. Full broadcast. Every frequency they use. I want every ship, every station, every world to receive this. The communication officer worked for a moment, then nodded. Channel open, sir. You're broadcasting to the entire Council network. Daniel stood up, straightening his uniform. This was not the simple clothes he had worn as a supplicant. This was a military uniform, black with silver trim, showing rank and authority. Behind him, the bridge of the Liberty gleamed with advanced technology. Everything about the image was designed to shock the Council. Across Council space, on thousands of worlds and millions of screens, Daniel's face appeared. In the Council chamber, where Voren and the other leaders were trying to figure out what was happening to their surveillance network, the transmission interrupted everything. Members of the Galactic Council, Daniel began, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable strength. Several days ago, you rejected Earth's application for membership. You called us primitive. You laughed at our technology. You dismissed our potential. We accepted your decision." He paused, letting the words sink in. "However, we did not accept your judgment." The image changed, showing Earth's hidden shipyards, the Phoenix-class warships, and technology that made Council scientists gasp. Ships that should not exist, weapons based on principles the Council thought impossible, facilities that would take them centuries to build. For 12 years, humanity has been watching you, learning from you, studying everything about your civilization. You saw what we wanted you to see: a struggling species with basic technology, barely able to work together, hardly worth your attention. Another image appeared, showing the ECS Liberty itself, massive and powerful, floating in space surrounded by hundreds of other human warships. The truth is different. While you mocked our antimatter engines, we developed zero-point energy extraction. While you dismissed our weapons, we created quantum targeting systems that make distance meaningless. While you thought us too primitive to matter, we built a fleet that represents a fundamental step forward in technology. In the Council chamber, Vorin felt something he had not felt in centuries: fear. The ship on the screen was more advanced than anything the Council possessed, and there were hundreds of them. Ambassador Kelrix of the Kreth Dominion roared in anger, slamming all 4 fists on the Council table. "This is a declaration of war. We must mobilize our fleets immediately. Destroy these arrogant humans before they become a real threat." But Vorin held up one hand, stopping the Kreth warrior. His political instincts, honed over 300 years of leadership, told him that reacting with immediate violence would be exactly the wrong move. "Wait. Let him finish." Daniel continued his broadcast. "We are not declaring war. We are declaring independence from your judgment. Earth will not wait 500 years for your permission to take our place in the galaxy. Instead, we are offering something new to every species watching this transmission." The image changed again, showing a symbol: a circle of stars surrounding Earth, with empty spaces between the stars, waiting to be filled. "We are founding the Alliance of Free Worlds. Membership is open to any species, regardless of technology level, age, or power. The only requirements are a commitment to mutual defense, fair trade, and respect for sovereignty. We offer this to all species who believe the Council has failed them." What happened next sent shockwaves through the Council. Within minutes of Daniel's broadcast, responses started arriving. 17 species transmitted messages expressing interest in joining the Alliance. They were mostly younger races, species the Council had marginalized or ignored for centuries. But 3 responses made everyone in the Council chamber go silent. The Torgath Unity, a powerful military force controlling 20 systems. The Helion Concordat, known for their advanced science and technology, and most shocking of all, a large faction of the Varan Empire itself, Vorin's own species. These were not weak, helpless civilizations. They represented billions of citizens, hundreds of worlds, and significant military power. The Council's monopoly on galactic governance had just shattered in front of everyone. "This is impossible," Vorin said quietly, though his voice carried through the silent chamber. "You cannot simply create a rival power structure. The Council has maintained order for 10,000 years." Daniel's image remained steady on every screen. The Council maintained the order that suited the Council. Many species would say that order looked more like oppression. We are offering them a choice. And to demonstrate that the Alliance of Free Worlds is more than empty words, we would like to invite the Council to a demonstration. "What kind of demonstration?" Vorin asked, though part of him already knew he would not like the answer. "Meet us at the Helix Nebula in 72 hours. Bring your finest warships if you wish, your best technology, your most advanced weapons. We will show you exactly what humanity brings to the galaxy. We will show you why dismissing us was a mistake." The transmission ended, leaving every screen blank. In the Council chamber, chaos erupted immediately. Some species demanded immediate military action, others called for negotiation. A few, recognizing the massive shift in galactic politics, started calculating which side would benefit them more. Vorin sat in his elevated chair, his 3 eyes staring at the empty screen where Daniel's face had been. In minutes, humanity had accomplished what should have been impossible. They had appeared from nowhere, challenged the Council's authority directly, and offered an alternative that appealed to half the galaxy. And the terrifying part was that Vorin suspected this was just the beginning. Humans did not reveal all of this just to make a point. They had a plan, probably several plans, and they had thought everything through carefully. "Chancellor," Vexer said, his voice uncertain for the first time in decades. "What are your orders?" Vorin considered carefully. He could order an attack on Earth immediately, send overwhelming force to crush this rebellion before it grew. But that assumed the Council's forces were actually superior to humanity's. After seeing that transmission, he was no longer certain. He could refuse to attend the demonstration, dismiss it as a meaningless show. But that would make the Council look weak, afraid to face the challenge. And it would do nothing to stop other species from joining the alliance. Or he could attend, bring the Council's finest ships, and show humanity that age and experience still mattered. It was risky. But every option was risky now. "We attend the demonstration," Vorin announced. "Gather our greatest warships. Contact every major military power in the Council. We will show humanity that numbers and experience count for something. If they want to challenge the established order, they will learn why that order has lasted for 10,000 years." Around the chamber, leaders nodded in agreement. The Council would respond with overwhelming force. They would remind humanity and every watching species that challenging the Council was futile. But as the meeting continued, discussing tactics and gathering forces, Vorin felt a growing unease. Humans had hidden their true capabilities for 12 years. They had infiltrated Council space without being detected. They had recruited powerful allies in secret. They had planned every detail of this moment. What else had they prepared? What other surprises were waiting? In 72 hours, the Council would find out. The largest fleet in galactic history would face humanity's alliance. It would be a confrontation that would determine the future of galactic civilization. Vorin just hoped the Council was ready for what humanity would show them. Because if the last few minutes were any indication, humanity was full of surprises, and none of them were pleasant for the Council. The Helix Nebula burned with ancient stellar fire as ships began arriving. The Council came first, their fleet so large it seemed to fill space itself. 5,000 warships from 200 different civilizations, each one proven in battle. Each one equipped with technology refined over millennia. It was the largest military force ever assembled in one place. High Chancellor Vorin watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Truth. The ship was 3,000 years old, updated constantly with the latest technology, a symbol of the Varan Empire's enduring power. Around him stood the Council's greatest military minds and most powerful political leaders. "They cannot win," Ambassador Kelrick said confidently, his forearms crossed over his massive chest. "Look at the numbers, 5,000 ships against 300. Even if their technology is advanced, they cannot overcome such odds." But Vorin was not so certain. Everything about humanity's revelation had been calculated perfectly. They would not have invited this confrontation unless they were confident they could win. The human fleet appeared right on schedule. 300 ships spread out across space in a formation that made no sense to Council tacticians. There were huge gaps between vessels. No overlapping fields of fire. No defensive clusters. It looked like they had never studied basic military strategy. "Their formation is terrible," the tactical officer reported. "They have left themselves completely exposed to concentrated fire. We could destroy them in minutes." On the Liberty's bridge, Daniel Carter listened to similar reports from his own tactical team. "Council fleet is deploying in standard Varan hammer formation. Exactly as we predicted. They really do use the same tactics they've used for thousands of years," Lisa Hayes commented from her station. "No variation, no innovation, just what worked before." "Which makes them predictable," Daniel replied. "Are all our ships in position?" "Confirmed. Shadow Fleet ready. Allied vessels standing by at designated coordinates." "Good. Open a channel to the Council flagship." Vorin's face appeared on the main screen. His three eyes studied Daniel carefully. This is your last chance, Ambassador Carter. Surrender now. Dissolve your alliance. Accept council authority. We will show mercy if you end this peacefully. Daniel smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. Chancellor, you still don't understand. This is not a battle. This is a lesson. You asked what humanity could contribute to the galaxy. Watch carefully, and we'll show you. He gestured to Lisa, who activated the first phase of their demonstration. Across the human fleet, engines powered up with a sound like reality itself bending. Energy readings spiked to levels that made council sensors scream warnings. What are they doing? Kelrix demanded, watching the readings with growing alarm. The answer came seconds later. Every human ship vanished, not destroyed, not retreating into hyperspace. Simply gone, as if they had never existed. Council sensors showed nothing but empty space where 300 warships had been moments before. Tactical displays showed no trace, no energy signature, no indication of where they had gone. Find them, Vorin ordered. Full sensor sweep. They cannot just disappear, but they had, and when they reappeared, it was inside the Council's formation. Each human vessel materialized precisely between Council ships, their weapons powered but not firing. 300 ships now sat in perfect positions to attack from within the Council's defensive perimeter. Quantum displacement. Doctor. Amy Richardson's voice came over an open broadcast to the entire fleet. We can move through folded space without using hyperspace. Instant repositioning to any location within range. Your formation means nothing when we can simply appear wherever we want. The implications hit Vorin like a physical blow. Every tactical doctrine the Council used assumed conventional movement. Ships had to fly from place to place. Formations mattered because you could control space and prevent enemies from reaching vulnerable positions. But if humans could teleport instantly, all of those assumptions were worthless. This is impossible, the tactical officer whispered. The energy requirements alone would need the output of an entire star. Should require, Lisa Hayes corrected over the open channel. We solved that problem 3 years ago. 0-point energy gives us more than enough power. Would you like to see what else we can do? Before anyone could respond, a single small human ship moved forward. It was tiny compared to most vessels in the Council fleet. A frigate called the ECS Defiant facing off against a Kreth heavy cruiser 10 times its size. That cruiser carries enough weapons to destroy a small moon, Daniel explained calmly. According to Council tactical doctrine, a frigate should last about 15 seconds against it. Let's test that theory. The Kreth cruiser opened fire with everything it had. Plasma cannons that burned at temperatures hotter than stars. Quantum torpedoes that could crack planets. Kinetic weapons firing projectiles at nearly the speed of light. All of it focused on one small human ship. The Defiant did not try to dodge. It did not activate shields. It simply shimmered slightly, becoming almost transparent. Every weapon the Kreth fired passed harmlessly through the frigate, as if it were not there. Phased matter technology, Amy explained, her voice enthusiastic. We shift our ships slightly out of normal space-time. Your weapons cannot hit what does not fully exist in your dimension. Oh, and while we're phased, we can do this. The Defiant flew straight through the Kreth cruiser, passing through its hull like a ghost through a wall. When it emerged on the other side, it rematerialized and fired a single shot. The shot hit the cruiser's engine precisely, disabling it without destroying the ship. We could have destroyed every vessel in your fleet before you even realized what was happening, Daniel said quietly. But that's not why we're here. We're demonstrating that humanity has earned its place in the galaxy through innovation and capability, not age or tradition. The demonstration continued for another hour. Humanity showed technology the Council had never imagined. Armor that adapted to any attack, learning and evolving in real time. AI systems that predicted enemy movements before they happened. Communication networks that could not be jammed or intercepted. Weapons that could disable without killing. But the most impressive demonstration came at the end. Commander Jake Morrison's voice echoed across all channels as the Shadow Fleet revealed their final capability. "The Council's greatest advantage has always been numbers," Jake said. "You have thousands of worlds and can field massive fleets. Let us show you why that doesn't matter anymore." At his command, each of the 300 human ships split apart, not breaking or exploding, but dividing into smaller vessels in a controlled, planned manner. Each segment was a fully functional warship, with its own engines, weapons, and intelligence. 300 ships became 3,000 in seconds. "Modular ship design," Amy explained. "Each vessel is actually multiple ships that can operate together or separately. We can match your numbers whenever we need to, and they can recombine just as easily." The Council fleet sat in stunned silence. The mathematical certainty of their victory had reversed completely. They were now outnumbered, in practical terms, outmaneuvered by ships that could teleport, and outgunned by weapons they did not understand. Vorin stared at the display showing 3,000 human vessels where 300 had been. His military officers were silent, their expressions showing shock and disbelief. Kelrix's forearms hung limply at his sides, all his warrior confidence gone. "What do you want from us?" Vorin finally asked, his voice tired. Daniel's expression softened slightly. "Recognition. The Alliance of Free Worlds will exist whether you acknowledge it or not. We prefer cooperation to conflict. We're proposing a new structure where the Council and the Alliance work together, a true galactic community where no species is dismissed because of age or origin, where advancement comes from achievement, not ancestry. And if we refuse, then the galaxy will have two power structures. Some species will choose the Council, others will choose us. Competition will drive both sides to innovate and improve. The Council will have to start advancing again instead of resting on ancient achievements. And honestly, Chancellor, that will benefit everyone." Kelrix started to object, but Vorin raised one hand for silence. The High Chancellor had ruled for 3 centuries. He had survived countless political battles and challenges to his authority. He knew when circumstances had changed beyond his ability to control them. "You have made your point, Ambassador Carter," Vorin said carefully. "The Council will need time to discuss these developments. I propose a summit in 1 month to negotiate the terms of this new arrangement." "Agreed," Daniel replied. "We'll send the details soon." "Oh? And Chancellor? Several of your member species have contacted us about joining the Alliance while keeping their Council membership. I suggest you allow that. Forcing them to choose sides would benefit no one." 3 months after the demonstration at the Helix Nebula, Daniel Carter stood in the Council chamber once more. But everything had changed since his last visit. The chamber itself had been rebuilt. The elevated platforms where the ancient powers had looked down on others were gone. Now all species sat on the same level, in a circle that emphasized equality. The Alliance of Free Worlds had grown to 43 member species. They sat alongside the original Council members, equals in every way. High Chancellor Vorin had surprised many by becoming one of the strongest advocates for reform. He had recognized faster than most that opposing the change would only weaken his own position. "We are here to vote on the Treaty of New Beginnings," Vorin announced to the assembled representatives. His voice carried the same authority as before, but now it was tempered with something new: respect for those around him. "This treaty establishes the framework for the unified Galactic Assembly, combining the Council and the Alliance into one governing body." The treaty represented a complete transformation of galactic politics. Species would no longer be judged solely on their age or technology level. Instead, membership would be based on clear standards that any civilization could meet: the ability to maintain peaceful relations, willingness to contribute to collective security, respect for other species' sovereignty. More importantly, the treaty established technology sharing programs. The Council's older races would teach their knowledge to younger species. In return, those younger species would contribute their fresh ideas and new perspectives. Humanity had proven that innovation could come from unexpected places, and that lesson had changed everything. "The vote will now proceed," Vorin declared. One by one, species cast their votes. The results showed how much had changed. 170 species voted in favor. 23 abstained. Mostly, those still adjusting to the new reality. Only 7 voted against. And even they acknowledged the vote's legitimacy. The treaty passed. The Unified Galactic Assembly was now official. After the ceremony, Daniel spoke with President Karen Mitchell through quantum communication. Her hologram appeared on the Liberty's observation deck, where Daniel stood looking out at what used to be called the Council Station, but was now Unity Station. "We did it," Mitchell said, her voice warm with satisfaction. "We actually changed the entire galaxy." "Everyone did it," Daniel corrected. "Every person who kept the secret for 12 years. Every scientist who worked in hidden labs. Every soldier who trained in secret facilities. Every diplomat who pretended to be weaker than they were. This was a team effort involving billions of people." "What happens now?" Mitchell asked. "This is just the beginning," Daniel nodded. "Maintaining this new order will be harder than creating it. The old guard still resents us. Many Alliance members have historical conflicts with each other, and we've made enemies among those who benefited from the old system." Lisa Hayes joined them at the viewport. She had been promoted to captain of the Liberty, a position she had earned through years of service. "But we're not alone anymore. The Varan reformists support us. The Helion Concordat has been incredible. Even some Kreth factions are working with us now." What none of them said aloud, but all understood, was that humanity's technological advantages would not last forever. Other species were already studying human innovations, adapting them, and finding new applications. The quantum displacement drive that had shocked the Council was now being installed on ships across the galaxy, each species adding their own improvements. But that was exactly what humanity had wanted. The real threat to galactic civilization had never been conflict between species. It had been stagnation. The Council had become comfortable, unchanging, and resistant to new ideas. Humanity had shattered that comfort, forcing everyone to innovate again. "There's something else we need to discuss," Daniel said, bringing up a display of the galaxy. "We've detected signals from beyond known space. There are other civilizations out there, potentially very advanced ones. Some of them might make the Council look primitive." Mitchell's expression grew serious. "Then we unified at exactly the right time. If we had continued fighting among ourselves, we would not be ready for external threats." Agreed. The Unified Galactic Assembly is not just about Earth's position. It's about preparing all of us for what exists beyond our current borders. In the weeks that followed, the transformation accelerated. Joint research stations brought together scientists from hundreds of species. Council veterans with thousands of years of experience worked alongside young Alliance researchers with radical new ideas. The combination produced breakthroughs neither could have achieved alone. Defense agreements were signed, creating a unified military structure that could respond to threats anywhere in the galaxy. Trade barriers fell, allowing goods and ideas to flow freely between worlds. Cultural exchange programs introduced species to each other's art, music, and philosophy. Humanity's role in all of this was unique. As the species that had sparked the revolution, Earth had significant influence. But Daniel made sure that influence was used carefully. In a private meeting with Earth's leadership, he delivered an important warning. "We succeeded because we were underestimated," he told them. "We played weak while building strength. But we can never do that to another species. The moment we start dismissing others as primitive or weak, we become exactly what we fought against." "Agreed," Mitchell said firmly. "That's why I'm proposing something for the Alliance Charter. A provision that we actively seek out new species and welcome them regardless of their technology level. We'll help them develop, share our knowledge freely, and give them a voice from the beginning." Dr. Amy Richardson, now serving as Earth's chief science advisor to the Assembly, supported the proposal. "We should also share the full story of how we rose so quickly. Not to boast, but to teach. Other species need to understand that initial appearances can be deceiving. It might prevent future conflicts." The proposal was implemented. The story of humanity's rise became part of the Assembly's official history. Military academies studied it as an example of strategic planning. Diplomatic schools analyzed it as a case study in patient negotiation. Young species learned from it that age and tradition did not guarantee superiority. 5 years after the Helix Nebula demonstration, Daniel Carter retired from active service. He was replaced by Ambassador Nicole Grant, who had recruited many of the original Alliance members. On his final day, Daniel stood on the Liberty's observation deck one last time, watching ships from hundreds of species arrive and depart from Unity Station. The station had grown enormous. It now housed representatives from over 300 species. The unified Galactic Assembly had become the center of galactic civilization, a place where ancient empires and newly discovered worlds worked together as equals. "Any regrets?" Lisa asked, joining him. Daniel thought carefully. "We deceived them for years. We manipulated the Council into underestimating us. Some would say we were dishonest. But the alternative was accepting their judgment that we were not ready. We proved that species should be evaluated by their achievements, not their age. If we had waited 500 years like they demanded, we would have wasted generations of human potential." "No, I don't regret it," Lisa nodded. "The Council mocked us. They dismissed us as primitives. They laughed at our technology. And we responded by rising to meet the challenge," Daniel finished. "We adapted. We innovated. We changed everything. The galaxy is better for it. Do you think they've forgiven us for the deception? Some have. Others never will. But they all respect us now. And in galactic politics, respect matters more than forgiveness." The Liberty prepared to return to Earth. Daniel took one final look at the transformed galaxy. The Council that had mocked humanity now shared power with species they had once ignored. Technology was advancing faster than ever as knowledge flowed freely. New civilizations were welcomed as equals rather than dismissed as inferior. At the center of it all was a simple truth that humanity had proven beyond doubt. Greatness was not inherited. It was not predetermined by age or tradition. It was earned through courage, innovation, and the willingness to challenge unjust systems. The Council had mocked Earth. They had called humans primitive, weak, and unworthy. They had been spectacularly wrong, and in being wrong, they had given humanity the motivation to become something extraordinary, not through conquest or violence, but through the simple refusal to accept someone else's limitations on what humans could achieve. The galaxy had learned its lesson. No species would be dismissed based on age alone ever again. No civilization would be mocked for being young or different. Every species would have the chance to prove themselves through their own actions and achievements. As the Liberty jumped to quantum displacement and began its journey home, the message was clear to everyone. Humanity had not just earned its place among the stars. It had fundamentally changed what that place meant. The age of assumed superiority was over. The era of earned respect had begun. And it had happened exactly as promised. Overnight, in a single dramatic demonstration that showed the entire galaxy what determined humans could accomplish. The Council had mocked Earth, dismissing humanity as irrelevant. In response, humanity had risen and reshaped the galactic order completely. They had proven that any species, regardless of age or origin, could change the course of history if they had the vision to see what was possible and the courage to make it real. Earth had that vision. Earth had that courage. And the galaxy would be forever grateful that humanity had refused to accept the limitations others tried to impose. The story would be told for thousands of years. How the youngest species in the galaxy taught the oldest ones that wisdom was not exclusive to age. That power was not guaranteed by tradition. That any civilization could rise to greatness if given the opportunity and respect they deserved. Humanity had demanded that opportunity. Humanity had earned that respect. And in doing so, humanity had made the galaxy a better place for everyone. The transformation was complete. The new order was established. And it had all begun with a simple refusal to accept an unjust decision. The Council mocked Earth. Humanity rose. The galaxy changed. And nothing would ever be the same again. As the human fleet prepared to demonstrate one final capability, every ship simultaneously vanished and reappeared in a completely different formation, light years away. Vorin finally understood the full scope of what had happened. The Council had been outmaneuvered politically, outmatched technologically, and outthought strategically. Humanity had not just challenged the Council, they had fundamentally changed what was possible in galactic civilization. The old order had fallen. The age of Council supremacy was over. And it had happened in hours, not centuries. The Council fleet began its slow journey home. There would be no battle, no glorious victory to restore their prestige. Just the long, difficult process of adapting to a galaxy where they were no longer the unquestioned authority. Humanity had risen. And in doing so, they had forced everyone else to rise as well. The galaxy would never be the same. The Helix Nebula waited, ancient and beautiful, where the future of the galaxy would be decided. The Council was preparing to demonstrate its power. But humanity had been preparing for this moment for over a decade. The galaxy was about to change forever, and it would happen in front of everyone. Broadcast across every world, witnessed by trillions of beings. There would be no hiding from the results. No pretending things could go back to the way they were. The Council had mocked Earth. Now, they would face the consequences of that mockery. And every species in the galaxy would watch to see who emerged victorious from the confrontation. The countdown to the demonstration had begun. 72 hours until everything changed. Double-checked. Every crew member reviewed their assignments. Every weapon was calibrated. Every scenario was planned for. When everything was ready, President Mitchell gave the final order. Execute Operation Prometheus. Show them what humanity really is. And across the solar system, hundreds of ships prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed. The Council thought they had seen everything Earth had to offer. They thought they knew humanity's limits. They were about to learn how wrong they were. And then we show the galaxy what humans can really do. The Council mocked us. They dismissed us. They laughed at us. That was their mistake. They gave us time. They gave us motivation. And they gave us the perfect cover. They'll never see us coming. The shuttle jumped to faster-than-light speed, disappearing from normal space in a flash of light. Behind them, the Council continued their day, completely unaware that the youngest species in the galaxy was about to change everything. The countdown had begun.